All right, you guys, get in here. I got a good one for you today. Oh, yes, I do. Get in here. Get in here. Somebody get Joe Johnson on the telephone. Right, call him up. Call Joe Johnson up right now. I promise you. Get him on the phone. Saxophonist George Johnson. That's right. Angela Winbush's musical director, Joe Johnson. Yes, get him on the phone right now because we're talking about Joe Johnson, and I have some stories to tell you about this guy. Stories that he doesn't know, or maybe he does. I'm not quite sure. He might remember these stories, like they might cross, his mind and say, I think I might remember one or two of them. Okay? And what's that? My interactions with Joe Johnson. All right, this is going to be good. But before I do that, I feel like I'm neglecting my R&B divas back here. All right. See, I want to call them Terry Ellis and Cindy Herron of En Vogue. I really do, because I am an En Vogue fan. Definitely. It gets no better. But every time I look at them, I want to say Chili and T-Balls, because they look more like chili and T-balls. So I got to name them, okay? So you guys help me. Who do you think? Do you think it's chili and T-balls or Terry Ellis and Cindy Herron? I want to say it's Terry and Cindy for me. I need to come to a conclusion with that, all right? So help me out with that one. So leave in the comments, if anything else, Terry and Cindy or chili and T-balls. And I promise you, I'll go with who you say they remind you of, and then I go and get another set of R&B divas that I think look like Terry and Cindy, because I'm a diehard. But anyway, let's talk about Joe Johnson. How do I want to tell these stories? Because I have about 3 or 4 of them. Just kind of like, just crossing paths. Okay, let's talk about the first one. How did I discover Joe Johnson? I discovered Joe Johnson because I am Angela Winbush. I'm here to tell y'all, you're going to love Angela Winbush over here. It's a requirement, okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? You have to like her music, you have to like her songwriting, you just have to like everything about her. I mean, everything Angela Winbush, you just got to love it. It's a requirement over here. So there I am. Angela Winbush has, after, her battle with her health and everything like that, and God restored her, made her whole again. She started touring again. You know what I'm saying? And, I think I got I actually have the poster. So, okay, let me calm down, because I didn't think about that. I should have got that out. But anyway, sorry, I need to calm down, y'all. So Angela Winbush started touring again. And guess what? She ended up somewhere near or around me that year when she started touring again. I don't know what year it could have been. It definitely had to be somewhere maybe between 2006 and 2008, I'm for sure. It had to be around that time. So there I was, not doing anything, minding my own business, really. And I don't know if I was on the internet or was I listening to the radio. I want to say I was on the internet. I don't know what I was looking at one particular time, but somehow or another, I think I probably searched something maybe with Angela Winbush. I'm not quite sure. But I do know one thing. I know what it is. I know what it is now. It was none of those. I was searching for events that I could attend. I was like, I wonder what I can do. Something that's coming up that maybe I can, go see a show, go see a play, something like that. And as I'm clicking on it, I think it was the Cannon Center in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm looking around. I was like, I just know Angela Winbush is not about to be in Memphis, Tennessee. I was like, oh, that. I was like, oh gosh, this is just no way. You're kidding me, right? That's how I'm thinking, because it would be my first time ever seeing Angela Winbush at all, performing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm sitting, sitting, looking at the computer like, this can't be true. And so it was Angela Winbush, and Joe might remember this. It was Angela Winbush, Joe Johnson, Bonnie James, and Phil Perry. And I think the way the show opened up was it Joe Johnson first, Phil Perry, Angela Winbush, and then Bonnie James ended the show. Okay. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe this. Like, I'm going to see Angela Winbush. Bonnie James, my aunt is more of Bonnie James because again, I'm rocking with my aunt who introduced me to In Vogue, Mary J. Blige, Phyllis Hyman, is it Lisa Keith? Her, is it Mesa? Kelly Price. Like, I can count on my aunt. When my aunt introduced me to someone, and I'm like, oh, this here is going to be like, I know for sure I'm hooked just by her mentioning the person's name because she just has that eccentric like kind of taste, like, yeah, and she definitely loved jazz. So anyway, so I called, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm looking, I'm like, okay, I got money for this. I booked the show, booked my ticket. Of course, I have to share that moment. So I have to share the moment with my aunt. So there I was, I was like, hey, I'm going to get your ticket for you. Don't worry about it. I just don't want to, this is my first show and I just want to share it with somebody. And so anyway, so we go to see the four of them at the Cannon Center in Memphis, Tennessee. Okay. Oh my gosh. First of all, I sprained my ankle maybe a week prior to that, a week or two prior. So I'm in a boot, I have a boot on. And I'm sitting there like anxiously waiting for Angela Winbush like to perform. Like Joe does a great job. Phil Perry, like, listen, forget the songs Phil Perry had. And I think he had like a cover album out, like, of cover songs he did. And one of them was Aretha Franklin's Call Me. Listen, Phil Perry is the kind of singer, like, I knew of him like maybe with one song or so. And I've never owned any of Phil Perry's music. But after that concert, after Phil Perry stopped, he ended his show, I was like, I couldn't believe his singing ability, Phil Perry. I couldn't believe his singing ability. Like, I'm sitting there like, is this man really, are these sounds coming out of his, like, I'm sitting there like, this man is, I'm here to tell you, this brother's fine. Like, I'm done. So I'm in shock. So once Phil Perry ends, his set, I think, if I remember, it sounds like there was like an intermission. I don't know, maybe 5 minutes or 5 or 10 minute intermission. So I get up because now I have to use the restroom. So I get up, I go to the restroom, and it's pretty decent line. So I go in the restroom, I use it. And by the time I realize what is happening, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to hurry up and go. The music, Angela Winbush music starts to play. Y'all, I kid you not. I kid you. Like, I'm laughing, but this is not, like, I'm not hyping this up at all. Oh my gosh. I don't believe I remember all this stuff. Oh, hold on. I kid you not. When her music started playing, everybody was like rushing back. Everybody was rushing back into, the show to see her perform. I don't know. I don't know if we thought we had enough time or what, but I just remember, like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to zip up and everything. Like, hurry up, let me get up out of here. And so I remember a guy that was coming out of the restroom too, right? Because everybody's trying to run back to see her. And the guy, because I'm with my aunt, so my aunt, went to use the restroom too. So she's walking back in and she's coming out of the bathroom. So the gentleman, he says to my aunt, he was like, excuse me, ma'am, can you go in there and tell her that Miss Winbush is performing? My aunt looked at him like, shh. She went like, I'm not missing the show either. Like, I kid you not, like I was so disappointed that I was like, wait a minute, like I got to see her come out. I'm sorry. I don't believe I've never told this story this way. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to see Angela Winbush come out to see the show. So of course, there she is. She comes out. I'm trying to get back to my seat. She comes out, and so when I look at her and I see her for the first time, I was like, that's Angela Winbush. I was like, oh my gosh, like, listen. At that time, I wasn't going to like a lot of shows, and to see someone like my favorite artist, the only person I think I probably went, I've been to a few shows. I'm talking about of other artists, but no, I get it's Angela Winbush. I'm trying to see how I felt at those other shows. No, it was just Angela Winbush. That's where I was going, right? And so I'm standing there and I'm saying to myself, like, at first I had to come out the cloud, because I'm like, okay, man, I don't believe I'm finally going to get to see, Angela Winbush sing and perform, like I was like, whoa. And I know we're talking about Joe. He's a part of the show. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I see Angela Winbush perform. So she's performing, so on and so forth, right? And she finished. She opens up the show with "I'll Be Good," and everything. And so then after that, she then sings the next song, "Angel." And at this moment in time, it was almost like what I thought would be like a dream come true. Like I actually have to pinch myself, like this moment is actually happening for me. And then she, starts to talk. And she made the comment. And unfortunately, for those of you who don't know, I think I have to find out the right year, but I'm not going to look it up. And I can tell you the actual year, but it will be the year Gerald Levert passed. Let me see what year the Gerald Levert passed to give you an idea. It was that month. It was that month of Gerald Levert's passing. Oh, I was right. I doubt that gun it. I'm good. I'm good. Did I say 2006, 2008? Gerald Levert passed in, it says here November 2006. Gerald Levert passed November 2006, which meant that then somewhere between, it was either had to be the month of November or December of 2006 is when I saw him and Angela and Phil Perry and Bonnie James perform. So it definitely had to be in November. And how I remember that is because Angela made a comment, to the people at the show. She was like, well, I don't know. She was like, I almost was about to cancel the show, because, Gerald had passed. And, my aunt loves Gerald Levert. Like the way I love Angela Winbush, my aunt loves Gerald Levert, So she made that comment about, Gerald passing. She was like, she was probably going to come. And I was saying to myself, like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad, that you didn't cancel the show. I was like, oh my gosh, like, when I heard her say that. But anyway, so she performed a wonderful show, a great set. Listening to her testimony. Like that was the first time I ever, seen her, period. And then I knew about the fact that, she, had taken some time off to, to heal, if you will, from, divorce, her diagnosis of ovarian cancer, so on and so forth. And so for her to talk about those things in her shows and how personable it was, like I'm sitting there like, man, like, whoa. And it was so real. Like you could tell the sincereness of it and the truth of it. Like it was no pretense. It was you left it like after like the show, I'm being entertained at her show. Like, that's what I'm going for. But I never thought that I would get, even with me, that reality check. Like, man, this here is something, and talk about, her hardships that she faced, like if I'm not mistaken, I think she was like, I faced financial hardships. I faced, depression. She was just talking about all the things that was going on, with her at the time that she was, battling, with these things, and, ends it by saying, I know where my help comes from. And I never forget, she, pretty much talked about, forgiveness, how she's like, I'm giving, people, so on and so forth. I've learned that, the people who I thought were for me, was against me. And the people who I thought was against me was for me. Like, I was just sitting there like, after the show, the way she interacted with the crowd, like if you didn't move, off the part of her singing, after that with, I've learned to respect the power of love and the meaning that she had with that, as well as I think, the song is When I Think About the Goodness of God and all that he's done for me. Like she sung that song and then she pretty much ended the show. I was hooked. Like, as I said, no pretense over here either. Like after that, I made a commitment that I was trying to see Angela Winbush perform as much as possible. And since then, I've seen Angela Winbush perform over and over and over and over again. Like it's awesome. So now you said, well, what does that have to do? You did all of that and you still haven't talked about Joe Johnson. Well, he was there. That's how I got introduced to Joe Johnson. Hey, you have to stick around and hear the whole story, right? So that's how I got you hip to Joe Johnson. So he was there, okay? And he performed. Like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Joe, you opened the show up. I think he was he was performed for, or he was the backing musician for Phil Perry, and then he was the backing musician for Angela Winbush. And so once Angela Winbush was done, oh, here's another story, Angela Winbush, like all of this comes together. So during her show, right, she calls out, she's asking, guys, like anybody want to come up, I can sing to them. And there I am in the back. I'm like, me, like I have my hand raised, like it's me. And I had a boot on. I wasn't thinking about the boot. And I was like, well, if I get chose to come up there, I'm like, I got to come up there with a boot. How am I gonna get down there quick enough? So anyway, one of the guys that was kind of closer is one of the guys who got chosen. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong with that show that year. I think that guy got up and he ran. Like, I don't think he was chosen. I think that dude got up. If I'm not mistaken, because now that I think about it, he was closer to me, but he was like in the middle. So yeah, I think this guy got up and he ran like up there, to the stage. Like, I'm serious, like it was that, but it was really like that. Like people was like, we got to go catch Angela Winbush. But after that, I left. I'm sorry, Bonnie James. I like jazz, but once Angela performed, and I know we had people looking at us like, where y'all going? I was like, I was done. Ooh, I could talk about so much about Angela Winbush. Like, and then when she started singing Angel, right? when she got down on her knees with that guy, I was like, I turn around, I'm looking at everybody like, because I never seen her show before. And then, when I saw Angela doing the stuff she was doing in her shows, I was like, what? I was like, Angela, like, what? So pretty much, like I said, she bent down and grabbed the dude up under between his legs and grabbed him behind, and cuffed him like this. I was looking like, that's Angela. Like, yeah. That was Angela that day. I was like, oh my gosh. So anyway, so how I got introduced to Joe Johnson. So I have Joe Johnson stories, okay? So anywho, so if you stuck around for all of that, so here's another thing with Joe Johnson. So after I started, really and truly, now Angela is back performing again, so I can like follow her career now. Like I can, see what she's all about and what she's doing, right? He would show up a lot, like at a lot of shows, that I had attended. I saw him and so on and so forth. And so that's when I discovered that he was or is her musical director, right? So I was like, that's cool. So anyway, so there I am on social media, right? Now I got, social media, my Facebook page, so on and so forth. And of course, I befriended him or sent him a friend request or whatever. So, he accepted the friend request. So I followed him, whatever the case may be. So I was following, Joe Johnson because, where anybody who can, work with Angela Winbush got to be, the baddest of the bad. So I'm like, well, Joe Johnson got to be the baddest of the bad. So I follow him. Okay. So this has to be now. Because I don't know, Facebook. If I was on Facebook back in 2006, I know definitely I was on Facebook back in, I was on Facebook in 2006, now that I think about it. But anyway, neither here nor there. It was 2010 now. It's 2010, I believe. I know that I am following him on social media. And there I am, and I see a post. He does a post. Someone does a post. And they're like, Angela Winbush is going to be on the Monique show. I think it was him. I think Joe posted that. No, it wasn't on Angela Winbush's page. It had to be his page. Somebody somewhere posted that Angela Winbush is going to be on the Monique show, like on the Juke Joint show, right? And I think it was him, and basically said, they're going to be taping this day and it's going to air that day. It had to be somewhere near around the summertime that year, probably 2010 or close to the summer, if I'm correct. Anywho, so I remember now, this is my next Joe Johnson story. So then when he says that, it is his page because I respond. So when he posted, I post up under it. And I told him, I said, listen, in so many words as I said it, I was like, please tell Miss Winbush. So Joe might remember this one. I said, please tell Miss Winbush, do not come on Monique's show just standing at a mic singing Angel. You know what I'm saying? Like just singing or whatever song she was singing, like, just standing there singing her song and done. I was like, no, because from 2006 all the way up, let's say to 2010, Angela Winbush, like her shows, I love her shows. So I was like, I don't want her, I haven't seen her on television in quite some time. I was like, I told him under his post, I said, you better tell Angela Winbush she better perform on the Monique show just like she performs in her concerts. I don't know if he remembers this. And I was like, you tell her she also better bring out a guy on the stage too. And she better sing like she sings with the band. Like I told him that. And I think he responded like he'll tell her or something like that. And true enough, if you go to the Monique show right now, this is a true story. Like, I like my stories. This is a true story. So if you go to the Monique show right now, thank you, Miss Winbush, because she performs on the Monique show like she performs in her concerts. She does, like the way she sung Angel on the Monique show that evening or whatever. Like, that's her set for Angel. And when I was up there, I couldn't wait to see Angela come out and perform. And I'm sitting on the edge of my bed. I'm in my bedroom. I'm just sitting on the edge of my bed, like, okay, hurry up, Monique, hurry up. That's all I'm doing. I'm like, hurry up. And so she comes out. At this time, I was me and my aunt. You know, we lived together, or rather, well, she stayed with me. But anyway, neither here nor there. So she was in the other bedroom, you know, and stuff. And I'm watching. I'm like, it's coming on. And so she comes out and she performs. And as she's performing, I'm saying to myself, like, yeah, like that's it. So when she, oh man, and oh gosh, like I was just still excited about her performing, you know, the way she performed on the show, because I didn't want no regular set, Angela. I'm glad Angela on the Monique show put it down like she does in her show. So I was so excited. I was. And there's a part in that, I remember the show, she hits that Isley Brothers note. Oh, I can't explain it, but it's somewhere, she's standing somewhere near around the crowd, and Monique is like behind her, like she's closer to them, like she's moved further closest to them, and she sticks her arm out. And as she sticks her arm out, you know, she hits that Isley Brothers note. I was like, oh, I was like, oh, like, man, like, I was like, that's Ron Isley there. I was like, that's oh my God, I love this so much. And that's it. And then, like I said, how she interacted with the band. What's the guy name? Oh gosh, I think he's no longer with us, is he? Oh, the guy who performed a role when you talk about love, Flight Time. What is his name? Oh, what's that guy's name? What's that guy name? When you talk about love. I'm gonna think of that man's name. It's gonna come to me. Y'all, somebody help me. It's coming to me. And it's just not coming out of my head like I wanted to. What is that guy's name? Somebody help me, please. He's with Flight Time. What is that guy name? Is it Wright? I think it's James Wright, isn't it? They call him Big Jim. Big Jim, right? Big Jim. But anyway, so she and him, they interacted with each other. And I mean, oh man, I'm just sorry. Okay. So then that would be a Joe Johnson story, right? That's one of them. Like I said, I have a few Joe Johnson stories. So I mentioned that up under his comments, and then to see that, I was like, man, thank you, Joe. I was like, Joe, I'm sitting back like, I'm like, man, Joe, he had to tell her because she did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Joe had to tell her. She, you know. So then I got another Joe Johnson story. Why do I have so many Joe Johnson stories? So then after that, shortly after the Monique show, Angela Winbush, I remember BET started, I think it was either the second or third season of BET Unsung, and Angela Winbush was, you know, considered for a show. I think it was Angela Winbush, In Vogue, and some other artists shortly after the Monique show. And so I remember when I saw it, and I'm looking like, man, Angela Winbush is being considered for an unsung. So here's what I did. Here's what I did, y'all. I'm sure I did this. So I'm in college, like I'm in my master's program at this time. And so we're in the library. We have a break. So everybody in the library, I go in. Now it was in the library. It was the computer lab. So we're in the computer lab, right? And here I am. I'm literally going up to strangers. People, some people I know and some people I don't know. They're at the computers, and I went up to them and I said, "Excuse me, I don't, I know I'm interrupted, but I just want to, do something real quick. I want to ask you something." And so they're looking at me like, "Huh?" I was like, "I want you to go to a website." I said, "I want you to go to a website. I want you to go to, I don't know, was it BET? VH1 something. I can't remember. I think it was VH1. And I was like, I want you to go over here and I want you to vote for, one of my favorite artists because I want to see them, win the, an episode." So they're looking at me like, "Huh? What?" And so they would go and I was like, "Just click on it." Just click on it. I told them, everybody I could find who would listen to me, I was like, "Y'all, please go vote for Angela Winbush. I want her unsung out. Like, I really, truly want her to have an unsung because I want to know, about her. I want to support her, all this stuff." So I did that, So what does Joe Johnson have to do with this? So the show eventually came out. She won, won. I guess it got enough views, enough likes or votes or whatever to get her an unsung show, right? Long story short, so there I am again. I'm, like, Angela Winbush got her an unsung. I'm like, okay, I can't wait, for this unsung come out. And there it is, unsung. It comes out. And I was disappointed. I think I was disappointed about Angela Winbush's unsung because I guess I already knew some of these things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know a lot about all of them, but I had all her albums. I knew who she worked with, and I was like, oh man, like they did Angela. Y'all, honestly, VH1, whoever you are, like Angela Winbush, y'all need to, y'all didn't do a good job. I'm sorry, you didn't, and I keep telling myself over and over again, like, no, like, no. And to me, what it looks like they did with Unsung for Angela Winbush, I don't think whoever did it really and truly understood her career. I don't at all. I don't think no one knew the depth and the breadth of her music, of her career. And it looks like to me what they did is they took a song of hers and built a story around the song. And I was like, huh? So when you see the beginning of Angela Winbush's Unsung, and I'm going to get to Joe Johnson part of this one. So when I see the beginning part of Angela Winbush's Unsung, there was not a lot mentioned about her and Renee Moore writing for other artists. There wasn't. I'm saying to myself, like, Angela Winbush and Renee Moore wrote for Shaka Khan and Evelyn Champagne King and Lamont Dozier and all these other artists. And you mean to tell me that you guys did not bring that up at all? Like, the only thing you guys did was say, oh, she worked with Janet Jackson and what? Now, you didn't even say they worked. Renee and Angela wrote half of the Janet Jackson's first album and gave Janet Jackson her first top 10 hit. None of that was mentioned. And I'm saying to myself, but y'all want to create a story around the fact that Janet Jackson turned down My First Love, which was a big song, for them at the time. It was big enough for them to, maybe say, okay, My First Love is a big song right now, like in that particular, decade or whatever. So it warrants, bringing up so that those people currently could attach Angela name to a more current song. I understand that. But people know Shaka Khan and Rufus. A person such as myself who's going to watch is going to want to know more about her working with Lamont Dozier. So that was disappointing, just to say the least. So I can say all of that to say, I made a comment up under Joe's post again, and I told him pretty much, I was like, it was so disappointing, the show, so on and so forth. And if I recall correctly, I remember Joe saying that actually was discussed, I guess, after the show, and that how, I guess it would be him and Angela, or he and whoever he was, conversing with about this, they came to the conclusion that Angela, it was so much work that she had done, you couldn't just tell everything. And I think he left the end comment was, well, either way, good or bad, it's still, open up doors for her to get more work, is what he said. And I was like, okay, well, true. But, it's kind of like, I just felt like when it comes to Angela, we are always missing the opportunity to really have her to shine. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's done so much, and the lady is sitting on #1 hits and gold and platinum plaques and all that stuff, and she's still not celebrated, as far as, the things that she's done, and just her knowledge. Like, and I hear she's pretty smart too. So when I talk about a knowledge as far as in the music industry, and around that, so it's what it is, y'all. So that's the part that's kind of a little disappointing. So now I got another Joe Johnson story. I'm wrapping it up with these last two because I think these are the last two Joe Johnson stories that I have. So which one do I want to tell first? Oh, I'm going to tell this one first and then the last one last, because that's how these have happened. So there I am, downtown. Now, I don't know anything about Joe Johnson other than that, he's Angela Winbush's musical director. I also don't know much about Joe Johnson because, as I said, I'm just a fan of his because I'm a fan of Angela Winbush's, right? So now I got three. I got one story before that one. So one day, there I am. He's posting things on social media, on his Facebook page. And for some reason, something finally clicked in my head, really in my head, and said, wait a minute. Joe, he's an artist. Like he's a musician. He has some albums out, right? So I finally said to myself, I said, how can I follow him and not support him? So I made up in my mind, I said, you know what, I'm going to go and see if I can purchase a record, one of his CDs. Y'all, I kid you not. True story. These are all true stories. So I finally go to a record store. I go to the mall. I go to this particular record store. I'm trying to think of the name of this record store. I can't think of it right now. Okay, I can't think of it. It's a total blank. But anyway, I go to this record store, and I kid you not, I don't know anything, about the jazz section. I know nothing at all about any of that. You know what I'm saying? It's just not a section I would just immediately go to. But I know he's a musician, a saxophonist. So I go and I asked the guy pretty much, like, hey, I'm trying to see if you possibly have a record by, this artist named Joe Johnson. And so there we go straight to the jazz section, and it's like his album. This album was waiting on me. It really was. It felt like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was there. Like, hey, you finally showed up. It really was, because as I turned, it was like this. It was like this record was looking at me. Like Yes, like what were you waiting on? Where you been? Okay. So then I go back to his social media page and I tell him this. I say, you know what, Joe? I said, I've been following you all this time, and I realized I don't have your album. I have none of your music. And so what I end up doing is I tell him, I said, I go to the record store and I finally have your album. So I tell him, I got it. I got it. I know we're supposed to be talking about the album, and we will, but I got to get these stories out the way. And so we have the album. Now, let me tell you how good God is. See, my Lord is good. My Lord is good to me. I don't know what happened. The devil is a lie. So anyway, what ends up happening is, maybe this is what it is. Let me stop this. Okay, maybe that's what it is. So my Lord is good to me. So there I am. I just so happens to be looking for another show to attend. I think this is it. I'm sorry, you're going to have to see me like this because I think I got too much going on over here. So my Lord is good to me. And I said, here I am. I got to go to another show. So there I am trying to figure out something to do, like another concert to go to, like something. I got to be entertained. Long story short, short story long. What ends up happening is Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder is performing, doing some concerts or tour. I guess you could call it the Song in the Key of Life tour. By the way, that's when Angela Winbush is working with Stevie Wonder, after he released that album. All things Angela. So anyway, so I was like, oh man, I can't believe it. I was like, Stevie Wonder. And Stevie Wonder is performing. One of the shows he's performing at is in Nashville, Tennessee. So I was like, I got to get here. I got to get to this show. I'm just me. I've got to get to this show. So I'm at work I'm at work and I'm saying to myself like, oh my gosh, like Stevie Wonder. I was like, I got to go see Stevie Wonder. Like, yeah. Seriously, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I got to do this. Long story short story long, I end up buying tickets, or rather a ticket to Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. Man, if God ain't good to me. First of all, I get the opportunity to see a musical icon legend. Like, there is definitely not going to be, I'm afraid to turn these things back on. I'm sorry for being in the dark like this. I hope you guys can see. I'm going to try again. But I hope nothing shuts off. But I get the ticket. Now I'm telling everybody at work, I'm going to see Stevie Wonder. I'm seeing Stevie Wonder, like I'm saying all this, like I'm going to see, and everybody yell, we know, we heard. So I'm like excited to go see Stevie Wonder, okay? Long story short story long, there I am. I'm in, I don't know where I was in Nashville. I don't know the name of the stadium or the auditorium or whatever. I can't remember that. And I'm getting ready to walk into the show. So I'm walking, ain't thinking about anything, trying to hurry up and get there, but I know I got time, because people are just walking in. It's what it is. It's a crowd. It's a crowd. So there I am. Forget all that. So we're about to go into this door. Like, we're walking. Well, yeah, we're walking, getting ready to enter this door. Me, I'm here. And as I'm walking, I see some people coming towards me, but I'm not paying anybody any attention. I'm not. True story. So as I'm walking and I'm looking, like now, you're not really paying people any attention. So as I'm getting closer and closer to the door, there's a group of people coming closer and closer to me, and we're all about to walk in. So before any of us could turn to walk, I'm looking and I said, this man looks so familiar to me. And I'm looking, I'm like, this is Joe Johnson. Like, this guy is literally walking into the Stevie Wonder show. Like Stevie Wonder, I'm pretty sure he could tell you, yes, I was at this show, Stevie Wonder's show when he performed in Nashville. I don't know the year. It had to be somewhere between 2012 and 2015 is when Stevie Wonder was in Nashville, 2012 or 2015. So anyway, so I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, that's Joe Johnson. And so there was a lady, walking beside him. So, me, I'm looking, and y'all, I feel so bad for saying this, but he don't need me lying. Let me cut this out because I don't want this to blink off. So I felt so bad because I'm the minute I realized I'm laying eyes on Joe Johnson, the only thing I could think of at the time is I'm looking like, is Angela Winbush in this crowd? I'm for real. I'm looking like, this Angela Winbush here? Because I'm like, that is Joe. I know that man. I'm like, that's Joe Johnson. That's Joe Johnson. So what really threw me, this is what threw me. This show, it cannot get any better than this, and I'm so loving it. It couldn't get any better than this, but this threw me completely off where I just shut down and missed my opportunity to say, what's up to Joe Johnson? I see him, and as we're literally standing, you guys, like almost face to face, because what is about to happen is both of us at the same time, we're about to walk into the Stevie Wonder show. Some must have recognized who he was. They spoke to him. He's speaking back. And now I'm shocked, like, and then I totally lose it because I know for a fact, I can't prove it, but I know for a fact, this is when everything just went haywire in my head. I was like, take 6. Like, I'm looking and I know I recognize at least one of the guys that's with Joe Johnson had to be one of the guys from Take 6. It had to be, because I'm like, that's Take 6, that Take 6. Like, and I'm by myself at this show. And I'm looking like, oh my gosh. And so then we're walking in together, and me just wanted to be just kind of like, oh gosh, like that's them, and when you see celebrities, or entertainers or famous people, if you want to call them, for me, I kind of want to give them their space, like, because in my head, I'm automatically thinking they get this all the time. Like, these folks just want to come in here and enjoy the show. Like, they don't really want to be bothered. They don't probably already prepared themselves to come out and kind of like, pay attention but ignore you at the same time, because they just want to get in the show and enjoy it. But I promise you, he was literally like, I think somebody somewhere in one of the seats or something recognized him too, and they reached out to shake his hand. And that's when I was like, man, I missed my opportunity to say what's up to Joe Johnson and Take 6. And, I think there was a couple of other people with him, that I think I probably recognized. But I was like, man, so I go into the Stevie Wonder show and I feeling so bad that I didn't say what's up to Joe Johnson. Like, I was that close, and I didn't speak. So that was that show. That's that part of my Joe Johnson story. Now I have another one. Right? So here's my other Joe Johnson story. I didn't know I had so many Joe Johnson stories. And I think it's great because we're approaching an hour, right? And so here's my other Joe Johnson story. So there I am. I'm with my aunt. We're downtown. We're at a restaurant. I have told him about these stories on his social media page. So maybe some of these, he probably be like, I remember those stories. I remember somebody saying those things. So I was downtown at a restaurant. Again, we're going to probably talk about Joe Johnson. I'm going to end this on the hour, and then we'll talk about his actual album, this album. And so where we're sitting, the way this restaurant is, it's not like a huge restaurant, but the part that we're sitting in, there are round tables, and they're pretty much close together. So pretty much when you get up to, let's say, leave or whatever, chances are you might hit the chair behind you, or, it's not a lot of space in between, the tables. So, we're really literally like in arm's reach, that if I stuck my hand out and the person next to me stuck his or her hand out, we probably would be touching hands. Like, that's how close we were. So there I am. We're kind of like in the middle section of this restaurant. I'm not going to name the name of the restaurant, but it was in the downtown area. And so everyone, of course, is talking. There's some people behind me talking, of course. I'm not listening, paying them any attention, but you can hear people talk. Because, of course, the people at my table were talking. But somehow or another, I hear some people making comments about a particular person. And the more they talk about this person, I'm saying to myself, like, and the way literally the way they're describing this person, it's nothing physical or anything like that. It's literally like the conversation they're having and the things that they're saying. And the only thing that made me think that they were talking about Joe Johnson is they mentioned Nashville. So, and it's music related. And I'm sitting there like, no. I was like, these people behind me, I know they're talking about Joe Johnson. So, me, I'm like, this is Joe. So I stopped talking, and this me, I'm serious, I just kind of lean back in my chair, like, and think I'm paying attention to, I'm sure that I'm paying attention to, the people at my table and them talking, but I'm listening to these, it's a group, it's men and women at this table talking. And the things that they were saying, I kid you not, some people don't realize it or never really think about it. But the fact that the people at this table were saying such positive things about this guy, like, I was saying to myself, like, they're talking about Joe. And they mentioned Nashville, they mentioned music, but then they mentioned something more about, if I can remember, this was years ago. I'm not going to say easygoing, but it sounded like some people at the table was pretty much trying to convince maybe one or two other people at the table that he's a good guy, is what they were pretty much saying about Joe. And I literally wanted to turn around and say, y'all talking about Joe Johnson. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to say that. And so how I make the connect that I know that was talking about Joe, because I have no idea anything about Joe. I don't know. So then I decided, I said, these people are talking about Joe Johnson. I know they are. And come to find out, Joe Johnson is from Memphis, Tennessee, and lives in Nashville, Tennessee. I was like, whoa. After all of that, and I left this message on his social media page, Facebook page, and I told him, I said, I know for a fact, he might remember this too. I remember that, he might remember, it's been years ago, that I told him I was literally sitting in a restaurant, and there was a group of people behind me talking about you, and I know it was you, and I was basically saying, they were saying such positive things about him, and it had nothing to do with music or anything like that. Like, they were really just talking about, again, how, as I said, easygoing or genuine or likable. It was more like, I don't know, maybe they were saying that the things that he's doing or has accomplished, like he's approachable, so on and so forth, like all of those kinds of things. And even though it sounded like that they were trying to say that to other people at the table, the people who were at the table was not saying anything negative back. You see what I'm saying? And I don't know. So that would be my last Joe Johnson story, right? I don't have any more. So I'm going to end this video. We're approaching an hour, and I'm going to talk briefly about Joe Johnson's album, The After Party. I'm going to talk about that. Because it's just what it is. He's about. I hadn't planned on saying any of these stories. I didn't think I was going to take an hour with it at all, But I just, like I said, just had a couple of minutes, and I want to talk about soul man saxophonist Joe Johnson. All right. So you already know how I end over here at Pepe La View. I ended by simply saying, hey, don't forget, put your behind where your heart desires to be. If you want to write, write. If you want to sing, sing. You want to go to college, college. You want to open up that business, open up that business. Put your behind where your heart desires to be. And also remember, whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always says to me, she says, baby, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. And I'm here to tell you, thank you so much for your love support. I know I cannot do this without you. I'm learning I can't do this without you. You have to have support, and I love you for it. I love you back. I hope you feel the love. You know what? And make sure you love somebody else. You understand what I'm saying? And on that note, guess what? I'm looking forward to seeing you next video. And until then, you know what I want you to do? Take care of yourself, baby. Talk to you later.